You know who the big winner was today? Kevin Stefanski. Like, and part of this comes from, look, there was no bad news, right? We didn't wake up this morning and get another statement from the Browns that there were 3 positive tests and 4 players identified as close contacts. So obviously circumstances dictate that. But we all sat there and listened to Kevin Stefanski today from his home, not wanting to talk about himself or his family or anything like that. And it was just anybody who listened to that, any fan who pulled that up on a stream or watched it on YouTube, it just had to be calming, right? And it was just the Kevin Stefanski that we've come to know over the season, focusing on the Steelers, not making excuses, saying that he trusts Mike Prefer and saying all the right things, but not saying anything more than he has to say, and then sometimes even less than that. It just felt very like normal. And even though we all knew it wasn't normal and we didn't get to talk to any players today and the Browns aren't practicing, it just sort of, I think for the fan base, when I was kind of following along on Twitter, I think it was a very calming thing. I think everybody kind of came away feeling like, okay, I think Stefanski's got this. And I'm sure that that's sort of how he's trying to make the players feel right now too. That, nobody believes in him. I'm sure he's going to be selling that at some point this week. But I think he's got that ability to kind of calm the waters there behind the scenes and get everybody refocused on what they need to do.
Yeah, I think it's been one of his strengths this whole entire season is guiding these guys through adversity, putting on that brave face no matter what happens. I mean, look, they had to go into the Jets game without 6 of their players from the night before. They had to practice in a concrete hotel garage on the day of the game. And he just keeps forging ahead. And he got 11 victories out of a football team that was just crushed by the Ravens 38 to 7 or 6 in the opener. And it just seemed like, here we go again, right? And he pulled that team back together. And he has set the tone all season long for that. And he did it again today. Now, he was a little bit more subdued than I thought he would be today, actually. I thought that he would be a little bit more upbeat than he was. So I was mildly surprised about that. But I mean, he is human, right? I mean, he's going through a really, really difficult time right now. In addition to everything else, what he can't and won't talk about is that he's in a room at his house full of 3 small children. Okay. These are 3 young school age children. So he's a human being with a family that has to worry about his wife. He has to worry about his kids, in addition to worrying about everybody on the football team, including people that have tested positive, some of whom do not feel good at all. So he's got a lot on his shoulders right now. But I think they will follow his lead on Sunday night. I think they will follow his lead and they will keep their eyes on the prize, which is what they've done all season long.
Yeah, Dan, you made a great point because we've seen what having an adult in the room translates to on the field. The Browns are in the playoffs because of that. Today is what having an adult in the room sounds like. Now, I don't have kids, but you two can attest to this. And it reminded me of when I was a child. And if anything ever felt uncomfortable or something was wrong, your parent puts the game face on, assures you everything's okay, and you move on. And that's exactly what I got from Kevin Stefanski today, that just in staring at one of the toughest circumstances that he'll probably ever face as a coach, he put the game face on, assured everyone everything's going to be okay, put immense confidence into Mike Prefer and Alex Pelt, and now the Browns are on their way. He remains impressive and adding to his resume of coach of the year. If being in press conferences was something we tracked for that, he'd be adding to it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Ellis, because I thought of this. When you have little kids, and Mary Kay, you can probably speak to this too, they're running through the living room and they fall down and they wipe out and they're okay, right? And the one thing you don't want is you don't want them to just start screaming and become unconsolable. So like as a parent, you have to oh my God, I hope they're not hurt, but then put that game face on and at least put out this front. They're like, oh, I'm not worried about it. We'll get this sorted out. That's actually a pretty good comparison, to not to compare all the Browns players to toddlers, of course, but I mean that's sort of what Kevin's trying to do a little bit is put on that hey, we're all right. don't worry about it. We're going to get through this. Even if in the back of his mind, he's kind of like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, you know what? And I wrote a column about that yesterday. Just he taught his players from day one, from the minute COVID-19 hit back in March, that they had to embrace the suck. It was one of his mantras all season long, was they had to wear Connects on tracers. They couldn't go out. They couldn't socialize. They couldn't have a barbecue. They couldn't get to know each other. They couldn't practice half the time. There was just so much going on this whole entire season, so much adversity. And here's the other thing about Kevin Stefanski that I think it should be noted. There are some players on this football team that last year, if they were unhappy, it was just so pervasive and it just kind of took over the team. He made sure that guys like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., that they felt valued, that they felt that they were important, integral parts of the team. I mean, he knew how to manage all the personalities. So he got everybody set up to get through the tough times. And, it's like, as long as we're doing kid analogies, it's like when you finally get your child to like 18 or whatever, and they're going off to college, they're ready. They're ready for the moment because you have prepared them for that. And that is what he has done with his football team. And he's a humble guy. Today he's like, oh, well, they're not in my image. Well, you know what? Yes, they are. They are in his image, very much so.